Hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am back with another emergency card kit. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the card ahead of time, but we leave the sentiment off. That way, if an occasion arises, we can choose the card that best fits the recipient and the sentiment that best fits the occasion. To help you with this, I come out with a free printable on the 1st and 15th of every month. And this time we have circle sentiments and strip sentiments full of encouragement, and I can't wait to show it to you. Let's take a look at the kit. We're digging into encouragement sentiments for September 1st. And I love that so many of you requested this because you donate cards to places that really need that extra encouragement. So if you have ideas for themes or sentiment types that you would like to see, please put those in the comments below. And then if you can, give me an example of a sentiment that might go with that. It gives me a sense of the tone that you're hoping for. Somebody, for example, suggested this: life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. And I was like, oh, so it's not just you can do it. It's I get it. Like, it just helps spark my creativity and help me come up with more ideas on how I might fit that theme. Okay. Somebody also requested coffee and tea sentiments. It was just one. So I'm curious if anybody else would love to see like some coffee and tea something. And then if so, like, give me an example of a sentiment. And I don't drink coffee. So that's one that's really hard for me, even though you might not think so. Let's take a look. We have the best is yet to come. Hoping today is a good day. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. You are totally, absolutely, 110% enough. Praying for you. Miracles do happen. You are capable of extraordinary things. You have more strength than you realize. You've got this. You really, really do. You're crushing it. Adulthood is straight up the worst hood we've ever lived in. Hang in there. Some days, the best thing about this job is that the chair spins. Hang in there. If cauliflower can become pizza, you, my friend, can do anything. Isn't it great to be gorgeous and smart? Keep kicking ass. You are an amazing human. Maybe swearing will help. That last one, that will get lots of use in my craft room. So I have it both with and without the circle. When I am punching these out, I use my 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and I just wiggle it until I can't see the circle anymore, and then I know it's centered. But if you have a different size circle or a different shape you want to use, that's what this other one is for. There is a download both for the American spelling and then a separate one for Australian and British spelling. So keep an eye out for that. For the strip sentiments, I've rotated it. Some of them got kind of wordy and then they got kind of chunky. So we have the exact same sentiments, but in 4 different fonts. And for the ones that got longer, these are more like a 1/2 inch than a 1/4 inch, but I've put them on 2 lines. So you'll still just use the tick marks like you did before. And then I put hang in there as something separate. So you could put that on the inside, or you could put that in addition, like below the other wording that we have here. But that just, it fit a little better that way. Let me know what you think about that. And then we have a new font. This is the new font. It's scripty still, but I think it's more legible. It's a little bigger than the other one. And so let me know if you like that. If we like it, we'll run with that for a while. If we aren't using it, we'll try again. And then this one is the same. It's that serif font that's slightly elegant, I think. Again, all the same sentiments. We are going to make 3 quick cards today using our sketch. So I have an A2 card base. So this started as 8.5 inches by 5.5, and I just folded that in half. I like to use a white card base to help conserve my cardstock. So I'm also going to use this 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock because that's going to show through in the background of my card. If you want to conserve cardstock a little bit more, that measurement is on here, and we'll get to that as we sort of get to the end of this card. So we have these 2 pieces on the left and right, and they have a matte layer and then a top layer. So the pink matte layer is 1 1/4 by 4.5. And I'm going to put that on either side. There's 2 of them. Next, we have the purple layers on either side, and I have cut mine from some pattern paper. These each measure 1 inch by 4 inches, and I'm just going to center them right in the middle there. Let me move that over so you can see it a little better. There's an 1/8 of an inch margin all the way around. Next, I have these diamond layers. There's a pink matte layer and then the purple layer. My matte layer is 3 inches by 3 inches. And again, I'm going to stick this over here so you can see it a little better. That purple, when we turn it sideways, is going to go clear to the top and bottom. So you need to be careful when you're laying that down, or it's going to hang over the edge of your card. So I'm going to eyeball this at the top. Kind of put my finger there to line it up. Okay. And then I can wiggle just a little if I need to with that wet glue. Then I will center this next piece. This is my purple diamond that's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. To create a place for our sentiment, I have a 2-inch circle. I used my EK Success Punch, but you could certainly use a die. This could be a different shape. You could use a scallop circle. There's lots of ways to dress this up. But for now, I'm just following the sketch. And I centered that right in the middle of my diamond. For a sentiment, I'm going to bring in my circle sentiments. And I like the ones with the circle around them. I just think it's a little bit easier. And I'm going to punch out this "You are an amazing human." And so I'm going to center that until I can't see the circle because it's slightly bigger than 1 3/4 of an inch. And I'll punch that out. Okay. And then I like to use a removable adhesive for this. I'll link it below. I get a lot of questions about that. And this is wrong. I have no idea when I owned an Elmer's. But mine fits in here. So I'm just going to secure that on there, and then I can change it later if I want to. And that finishes off our first card. It's simple. It's a little bit different. Okay. If you wanted to conserve a little bit more of your colored cardstock or your pattern paper, the gray layer here is what you can see in the middle, and that is 3 by 4 1/4. For our next card, we're starting pretty much the same way. I've already added my blue cardstock to my card base, and I'm going to add my purple strips and my pattern paper strips to either side of my card base. Sometimes I end up with a little extra cardstock sticking out on one of my sides. So when I'm laying things down, I always make sure that I line that up evenly along the fold, because obviously if you cut the fold, you don't have a card anymore. You have a card front. And then I can trim off on either side or at the bottom. And then I don't worry too much about being completely perfect with my initial cuts. To dress this up a little bit, I am still starting with this 3 by 3 inch diamond layer. So I'm going to add that as well. Then to dress it up, I used some nesting dies that I have. This was a directional pattern. And so to try to cut it out this direction, but in a diamond, would have been kind of challenging with my trimmer. So dies worked really well for me. So these are from Pink and Main, and they're meant to go together, right? So they've got a whole bunch of these scallop dies, and then this is a stitched square die. And these are like right in here, okay? So I just went for whatever was as close to 3 inches as I could get without going over. I'm going to go ahead and glue my die cut pieces together, and then I will center those onto my light purple square, the 3 by 3. For one more little bit of interest, I'm going to pop up my 2-inch circle with some thin foam squares. These are from Spellbinders, but there's a couple companies that make them and they're kind of the same. I'll link them below from the places that I like. Mine are 1mm, so it still goes through the mail really easily. And then I think for this one, I'm going to use this You've Got This. You really, really do. And again, I'm just going to wiggle my punch until I can't see that circle. And I'll add that temporarily. If you wanted to just glue it down, you could always glue a new one over the top if you wanted to replace it later. So these two are very similar, but this one just has a little bit of extra something, right? And it didn't take a whole lot longer. For our third and final card, we're going to rotate the orientation. So we're going to make a portrait style card. And we're still adding the matte layers and the pattern paper layers like we did before, but now they're on the top and the bottom instead of on the sides. This time, instead of creating diamonds by just cutting out squares of cardstock, I dug through my nesting dies. This is the Essential 4-Petal labels, and I grabbed a couple of these, and I'm going to use those for my matte layer and my focal point right in the center of my card. But dig through your nested dies, see what you have. I was thinking about these gem shapes that would have worked really well. The diamonds would have worked. This one, so I have an extra in here, I think. That fluted oval fits beautifully in there. So if I want to use a strip sentiment instead of a circle sentiment, this is a great place to create a focal image with stamps or dies and use a strip sentiment. And then this Essential Floral Reflections is one of my very favorites. Well, that one's kind of big. You've seen me use this one before. This piece would fit on the entire card. And actually, let me see. This is the floral die set that came out with that. That would be really pretty. Oh, don't get caught, right? And then that just kind of layers in there. But you could use a smaller one of this shape in here. I've used it in previous kits where that circle just fits really nicely in the middle. This one might be the right size. Right, like that's not the right color, but if you stuck one of these and then a 2-inch circle, like that would be beautiful. And you could do a second one so they kind of nest in there, but see what you have, right? I'm going to start by gluing these together, and then I'm going to use some die cuts to dress this up because I'm a die cutter, right? That's my favorite part of card making. I love the textures and the layers. I've done a bunch of the die cutting assembly already, but I want to show you at least a little bit of it so you get kind of a sense of how I go about things. All right, so this is the 4 Petals floral die set, and it's meant to go on this shape, but it's meant to go on a bigger one. Like this is huge. And I don't think I want it going like up and down. I think I want it like kind of coming through the middle. And I didn't really like these flowers that much when I cut them out. So I cut out a bunch of the little ones and then a couple of these, and we're just gonna assemble and kind of see how it goes. I did already layer up my flowers a little bit, and then I put the leaves on my stem. Once I figured out where I wanted to put my big flowers, some of these pieces are a little too big for the small flowers, so I'm going to trim those down. flowers left over. I'm going to hang on to those and I'm going to pick out my sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to use one of my strip sentiments and I'm going to grab this 4th font. This is really pretty, but one of my favorite things to do is to take something that's really elegant and then to put something kind of sassy on it. You could leave the card like this and maybe put the sassy on the inside, but I'm just going to go for it and we're going to add maybe swearing will help. To cut these out, I start by cutting the whole thing in half. And I'm going to be careful. I want to cut right through the tick marks in the middle because I need tick marks on both sides. Then I will cut through the tick marks on the other side as well, leaving a few. Okay. So I can see the tick mark all the way on the edge of both of these. When I go to cut these out the first time, I'm going to line up the tick mark visually at the top and bottom right on my blade. Okay. Then I want to make sure that this is a 90-degree angle, that it's completely square with this cut line. All right. So I want to cut this one again. Did you see that? I'm going to rotate it and then flip it because I need just a sliver. I'm taking off just a sliver. Okay. So I needed this side and this side to be at a 90-degree angle. Now when I run it through my trimmer, I can just line up that bottom tick mark and the top one will also be right on my blade. Okay. And there's the one I want. Maybe swearing will help. And I am going to use the finger guard, the inside part of my finger guard, and line up the P of help right on that guard. And then I'll flip it around and do the same thing. And then I know they have the same margins on both sides. I'm also going to take some of the blue cardstock that I've been using for my matte layers, and I'm going to make one more matte layer. So this starts at 3 inches. So the strip's about a 1/4 inch. There's a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch more. Okay, so this is 3/8 of an inch. And I am going to glue this straight on here. And I'm going to create an even border on 3 sides. All right, so this side's a little cleaner. Right here, I've got an even border on 3 sides. Then I'm going to put this in my trimmer and I'm just going to take off slivers until I feel like those look even on the left and right. That's it. So I'm bringing my card base back in and I'm going to look for a place to put it. And there's a lot of like green without flowers right here. I could sort of offset it. Oh, I kind of like that. Or I could center it. I think I like it offset a little bit, kind of filling in that spot. And this glue, I use Barely Art, but I also like the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. They're both really good glues. And so once the glue dries, it's going to be fine. But here's my trick. I am actually going to go kind of heavy-handed with my glue. But when I set this down, I'm not going to like squish it down. I ultimately want that glue to kind of fill in some of the nooks and crannies and create a little extra stability in there. So I'm pressing down on the places where I can see the die cuts underneath are at their tallest. And then I will just tap carefully. And then I will set that aside to dry before I mess with it. So those are our cards for today. I hope you liked them. We used our emergency sentiments from Kit 14. We've got encouragement sentiments. We have 2 pages with the circle sentiments, both with and without the circle, obviously. It is available both in American spelling and in Australian and British spelling. Then we have 2 pages of our strip sentiments. Remember, we have the new font as well. So I want to know if we like this scripty font better, if we'll use that. Be honest with me. If we won't use it, I will replace it again and we'll try something else. And then we used our card sketch. We followed it exactly. We stepped it up a little bit. We turned it on its side. Like literally we turned it on its side. I had to. I'm just, anyway. And that's it. Like there's going to be another page coming out to this next week where we're going to make a pop-up version of this card that I absolutely cannot wait for. A huge thank you to those of you who've been giving me recommendations for sentiments. If you have some, put them in the comment section below. A huge, huge thank you to those of you who left me super thanks last month. I didn't even know it was set up on my channel. A super thanks is like a tip, and it was unexpected, and you made my day. I'm speechless. Like, I absolutely appreciate it. More than you know. This printable is available by clicking on more or show more beneath the video, and that will unpack the description box. And then at the very, very bottom are links to the downloads. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.